As always, this is our stretch break here. What our goal is for this is to kind of target some of those muscles that might get a little bit more tight throughout the day. So we're going to do a lot of hip focus movements. And then, of course, we're going to start off with one piece of tension equipment just for a short amount of time, even if we don't have something at home that we can utilize. It's only going to be our first exercise, so that's quite all right. For me, I'm using a band. You can use a towel, a broomstick, a blanket, whatever you have that you can really just pull and open your hands with. And we're just going to let that sit back there. And if we don't have anything around the house that we're willing to use, that's okay. This is just our first activity, and then we're putting this away so it will not hinder our ability to work the rest of the class. Jessica, just saw you're in there. That's awesome. Um, we are doing one check-in per day as of right now. We can look at our NICA stuff and make sure we've got that figured out as well. But currently, the plan is one check-in per day, I think is what our system allows. Dylan and I can confirm that, though, if we need to. Of course, while we're stretching, guys, make sure we have our water with us, and then also make sure we're breathing through these exercises. That's just going to tell our bodies to relax. From there, guys, we're going to go ahead and put that piece of tension equipment to the side. That's it for that. What we'll have you do next, keeping our legs straight. We can choose to fold our arms or let them dangle. But we're just going to let ourselves fold at the hips. And then from there, we can let the spine go into flexion here. We can really let our whole body droop down. We can touch our hands to the ground if we like to, or we can fold our arms up if we don't want to have the distraction of having our hands on the ground. The same thing, we're going to be here for a little bit of time, guys. If you ever feel the need to come up from this position, I'll have you put your hands on your shin, trace those up towards your knee, straightening your back, and then hinge at the hip, just like we might do in class with the hip hinge. Same thing, but if you're able to just stay down here and enjoy the stretch, that is awesome as well. From there, guys, I'm going to have you put your hands on the shins like we talked about. Track those up towards the knee, extending the spine. And from there, we're going to extend the hips. From there, we're going to spread our legs, doing something a little bit similar, but we're going to focus on our adductors. We're going to stretch down here and put our hand. Well, we can do the same thing. We can put our arms crossed, or we can let our hands dangle down. And then from there, reach over to one leg. And reach over to the other. From there, guys, go ahead, straighten ourselves back up. We're going to go down to the ground here into a lunge position. This is going to be a little bit of a longer stretch as well. focusing on the hip flexor so that knee can be down if we want to take a little bit of a tension off. What we can do in this position is we can either just be in a normal lunge position, neutral pelvis, torso upright, and then driving forward slightly. If we need a little bit of an extra stretch, a couple things that we can do is we can try rotating into this top knee. That's going to pull a little bit our psoas muscle right there. If we need a little bit more, we can twist or bend, to this side, bending over. If we need a little bit more than that, I would try out those two first before we go into this next one. We can slightly maybe lean back, but if we're going to lean back, I want us to be really careful. We have hip flexor muscles that, of course, cross over our pelvic bone, and we don't want to allow too much cross friction there, guys. So we want to be gentle in that type of plane of motion. Otherwise, we're just rotating over to the side. And of course, staying right up here in this position is more than okay as well. From there, guys, go ahead, switch it over. Doing the same thing, just the other side. Again, really focusing on that hip flexor here, trying to get it to stretch out. As always, we like to take these stretch breaks to focus on those muscles that really get tight while we're sitting down. Hip flexors is definitely one when our legs in this position to our body for a good portion of the day due to sitting in a chair. So this hip extension where we get to stretch the hip flexor is great. From there, we're going to go ahead, switch it back to this first leg, trying to start a little bit farther into that stretch than we were able to on the last time. Again, great to have our water here throughout. We're going to kind of continuously move, especially while we're doing these slower, longer hold pauses per stretch. So we can sip on some water and focus on our breathing the whole time to get our body both hydrated and able to stretch, as well as relaxed enough to be able to go into the stretch. And we'll switch it over to the other leg one more time here. And then from there, guys, we're going to drop it on down to the floor here, spreading our legs similar to where we were when we were standing. This time, we're just going to let our body, again, just be that stretch for us, stretching down to the middle. Now that we don't have gravity as much, we can really take this opportunity to extend our spine, flex it forward, get a nice stretch all the way from our adductors up into our spine, spinal extensors. And from there, we're going to put 1 foot forward, one knee in, reach out forward. This is not a stretch where we feel we have to grab our toes. Instead, it's more, or if that takes away from the relaxation component, feel free to just let your hands fall forward, let your body induce that stretch. Similar to how it would in a hip hinge motion, our body will pull on our pelvis, which will then pull on our hamstrings here and give us a stretch. So there's no need to grab here if that takes away from the relaxation component of this stretch. Go ahead, same thing, other side. Go ahead, rise up, guys. We're going to focus a little bit on the wrist here. I want you to gently pull back on those fingers. Reason why we do this is because when we're typing, our wrist is kind of in that flexion or extension mode a little bit. So go ahead, give it a stretch. If it might feel more comfortable for you to stretch this way, that's more than okay. A nice, gentle stretch on that wrist. Switch it over. Same thing, other side. Just gently pulling those fingers back again to combat that flexion that they tend to be in while we're sitting at the computer. As always, of course, these stretches are something you can do at any time throughout the day, which is why, again, we like to focus on those stretches that help us to combat sitting at a computer, because at any point of the day, these are important to be able to get up and do. From that point, guys, we're going to go ahead, go onto our backs. We're going to stretch our glutes here and focus a lot on a piriformis muscle or a small gluteal muscle that might get tight from us sitting, again, at a desk all day. So what we're going to do is raise that leg up, ankle on the opposite knee, pull in that bottom knee, and we should be striving to feel a stretch right on the outside of our hip. Our whole glute may feel it as well, but we're also specifically targeting that small muscle just on the outside of the hip bone there, guys. From there, relax that position and go ahead, replace with the opposite leg. And from there, go ahead, sit up or maybe sit in a chair. We're going to finish off, as we finish off all of our classes, Great stretch to do for our brain. It's a 4-way neck stretch here. Focus on getting the blood back up to the brain. We're starting off with dipping this chin down to our chest. Again, middle of the week, middle of the day, especially right here on this Wednesday. This is a stretch that does not take a whole lot of time. You do anything from 15 to 60 seconds on each side of our neck, for anything from as small as 1 minute to 4 minutes, just to regain some focus and fuel for our brain. At that moment, I'll have you guys raise up, tilting the head back, stretching the front of our neck. Raise it down, one ear to one shoulder, same side shoulder, stretching side of our neck. And raise up, other side.